Welcome, I'm Julie, and the first thing we're going to do in our class, as we always do, is go through the materials that we're going to use to make our pair of bittersweet earrings. This is one piece of the pair, and the second piece I'll be showing you in this coming video. So what we have in the kit, if you purchase the kit, and the link is in the description, you'll have E6000, you'll have a section of leaf jewelry chain, and the kits may offer two different styles. Whoops. This style right here is the other style. So open leaf or closed leaf. So that will be a random mix on my part. So I don't know which one, if you order the kit, which one you'll get. So you'll have your pre-cut shapes, and you'll have these little wooden bezel earring posts. And I've hand drilled into these and put eye hooks in them so that we can hang dangles. I will have a limited selection of these also sold individually on my Etsy site, and I will put the link in the description if you want to buy more. They're sold by the pair. And those, as I said, are hand done by me. And I'm going to show you in the video how to do those. And you'll have the backs for them. Then you're going to have this wonderful, this is 3/16 wide silk hand-dyed ribbon and head pins and a little extras in case you break them or mess up. And then your pastel palette. That's what comes in your kit. Now, what you need to supply is jewelry pliers for doing wire wraps. This would be a chain nose, a round nose, and wire cutters. Scissors to cut your silk ribbon. In this class, we're going to be using the red cone mold with the cone mold top. And you're going to need a heat gun. This is a 320 watt craft heat gun. So that should do it for making this class. Let's get started. Oops, I always forget something. You'll also have fire line. This is 6-pound black fire line in your kit. I have my pieces ready to color, and I'm going to erase any pencil lines that I see on these, just using a nice gum eraser. Blow off my crumbs. And then put these all facing with the frosted side up. I'll have 6 bittersweet petals. Oops, missed a couple. Want to make sure you get that off, or those lines will show. And I hand made these flowers and then hand cut them. And I'm going to show you how you can do that. So this is the center finder template. And if you want to hand make a flower, and it's a 3-petal, this, you can pick your stations, your lines where 3 would be. So this is a nice, kind of got that crooked. And then I'm putting my center hole there. Now, next, I can take a piece of scrap paper, and let's say I know kind of the size that I want. So let's say I want my petal to be this long, and we can measure that. We know that it's going to shrink down in half. So from the center out there, that's an inch petal. So I know that's going to shrink down to 1/2 inch. And you can do it this way if you want to, but I'm going to show you the whole entire process. So I've got those lines marked. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark an inch, give myself a little more there. That'll be my circle. That represents this right here, okay? I'm gonna fold this over in half, and then this is where I can design this shape of petal I want. In this case, it's like so. And I cut that out. Or you can use a design program online to create these too. So this, now I'm going to punch this hole, but I'm just showing you an old-fashioned easy way. I tend to rely on my old-fashioned ways. And yet I do a lot in Adobe Illustrator in making these two. But opening the program, designing it, printing it out. I can do it faster this way. So you see what I did? I lined up my line with this. I lined up my circle with my circle. Then I drew, I moved it around, and I moved it around. And then I can cut this shape out. Notice how I wasted paper and put it right in the center of the paper. And there, if I punch this, then I can trace this onto my shrink plastic and cut it out and hand punch it. And I've got my shapes. So if you don't buy the kit, that's how you can do it. The flowers are from die cut that I have, and I sell die cuts on my site, and these also are too. I'm going to talk about the green. The greens are pre-cut out for you, and they're pre-tinted for you from my Gem Tone series of tinted colors on the website also. So that's how all of that happened. Now let's go back to these pieces that I hand cut out of, traced them onto the frosted side of the shrink plastic and cut them out and then punched them. So I'm going to take my pastels, and I should have 6 of these, and I'm going to use these different colors of oranges and yellows to create these wonderful bittersweets. I absolutely love bittersweets. Where I grew up, they grew wild, and by late autumn, they were dried out and ready to pull the vines down, and you could make the most awesome wreaths out of them and bouquets. So see how I'm making sure that all my petals have a nice variegated feel to them. I can blend all these colors. I can put this rich, deep orange, because you do feel, you see that in the bittersweet. The drier they get, the richer they are. It's just an amazing plant. And by varying your colors, you're going to get a really awesome petal. I'm not going to put any marks on that. Other than that, I'm going to wash my fingers and we're going to do the flowers. Got my scrap paper out here, and I've given you 2 sizes, but I only used 1 size on this, but I'm giving you 2 sizes in case you want to layer them, or if you want to use the larger or the smaller. So not fussing over these because they shrink down so tiny. Just want them to mimic. They represent the asters that bloom in the fall, wild asters, along with bittersweet. So that's what this piece is about. And that's why I really loved putting the wood with it too. It all has that autumn theme to it. So there we are, and we're going to shrink. Okay, now we're ready to shrink, and I want you to get your little orange bead ready. I'm going to show you how to shrink one, and then how to shrink the flowers. You'll be doing 6 of these, but I'm just going to show you once because you'll be doing them all alike. So what you want to do is I want the shiny side down on my piece because I want shiny on the outside. That's what I've chosen of my Bittersweet. So I'm going to heat, and I hold my heat gun around the perimeter about that far from the shrink plastic. I like you to go straight down, but I'm going to be shrinking at the side so that you can see. Straight down keeps your heat more concentrated on the bead. Now have this ready because this is part of the process. Done moving on its own accord. I'm pulling that down that way, and it kind of helped press it in. I dropped my little orange bead in there, and I'm taking my fingers. Now, if you can't use your fingers, use these guys and just keep pushing them in until it cools, and you'll know because it's hardened. And then you get this great little encapsulated bittersweet flower. Now, next, we're going to do our little purples in both sides of them. Now I'm going to put the frosted side up on this, and when I shrink it, I'm going to shrink it the same way, position that I shrunk the Bittersweet. When I press this pin down on it, I'm not going all the way in. I will show you. It already dropped a bit on its own, and I'm going to only go to about there and hold it. That way I will get a less domed and more open flower petal. But I'm not using the white mold for this because it's just a little large, I feel. And it still gives me more, this gives me more opportunity for a cup shape on these. This is the little one, and this gives you both options to use them. So that went fast, and I'm just watching and pressing just ever so slightly so that I still get the dome that I want, the cup shape, but it's not totally closed up. And this cone mold can make the petals really tight, like a new bud. So we have those, and as I said, you could layer them like that, but that I didn't find that effective. But when I did make my piece, I couldn't decide if I wanted this size or I wanted this size. I did want my wood to show. I wanted my bronze bead to show because of the bronze being used here, and I wanted enough of the purple to show. So it was just a nice balance that I was going for. Okay, let's assemble. Oops, forgot to show you how to do the green. We do this green the same way that we do the purple. I want to put the frosted side down on this, and I'm going to once again hardly dome it all. In fact, I'm going to use this end on these. Okay, so do all 6 of your green beads using this end of it and pressing it. It'll make the perfect dome. Okay, now let's assemble. So I'm going to show you how to do these wire wraps. We're going to get our little green beads out and do our stack. So we've got our head pins. We're going to fish our little bead through, put our little bead cap on, and then The head pins are bowed this way, and metal has a memory, and it likes to be moved in the direction that it has indicated that it likes. So we want to bend, our first bend in that direction. And what we're going to be doing with these, traditionally, when you do a wire wrap, a tradition is to do your loop and then do 3 wraps and cut. I want these to kind of look more like a stem. So we're going to leave more tail here for us to wrap on. I'm just going to let the length of what I create here be how much I wrap. I'm not saying, oh, I'm actually going to do 7 or 6 wraps, but just let it be what it is. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm putting them in my left hand, and I want my loop rather small. So I'm putting it down here in the plier nose, and I'm placing, so I'll have a smaller loop. I'm placing this, I'm going to pull this metal down. So I've got my bow going down, and I'm holding this very firmly, okay? I'm going to use my fingers for this because I find that I'm gentler when I do it this way. I'm not pulling the metal as hard. So I'm bringing it all the way up, and I went, see how I went around? Now I'm going to then torque my hand this way, and I'm going to use this to lift the bead. And that creates a loop that's straight up and down. Now you can use your fingers. See, you can use your fingers or you can use the pliers to wrap, but always grab at the tip. And we're going around. And this is where the metal will start to bite off. And once I get a certain amount of wraps down there, I'm having to grab it each round and go a little slower here as I get closer to the green. And that's about as far as I can go with this. So see how this is crooked? I'm putting that back in the nose, and if I bend again like that, torquing this way and pulling this up, I'll get that straightened out. And it takes a little adjusting when we've made our neck that long. So now I'm going to have to do it this way. Just adjust. And then I'm coming in here and cutting my tail. Sorry. Cutting my tail. There I've got my tail, and it's a little up here, so I can finagle and whoops, and get it down into place. And there I've got my lovely little wrap. Okay, that's how you're going to do all 6. Some of them you may give yourself a longer tail and you'll have a longer stem. I'm going to do one more to show you. Perhaps this one I'll do a longer stem on. We come up here. We add our greenery. Now we get that bow going the direction of where we're putting our pliers. Come up here, and I'm holding this very firmly. Coming around, pulling it up, torquing this way while I push this up to get that nice little loop there. You might want to check it. And then I'm coming around with my wraps. I'm going to always grab your tip. I'm going slowly on this one at a time, just so that I can see very carefully that these are lining up with each other. I don't want gaps on this. Straighten that out. I'm also going slowly because I'm trying to keep my eye on where this is in the viewfinder while I photograph, so that I stay clear where you can see. Now we're getting there towards the end, so now I'm going to do kind of a corkscrew technique, meaning I come in here and then I'm kind of getting really close in there. Whoops, dogs are fighting over food. So when I say corkscrew, if you're able, you do that. You see where I get it on that plier tip and corkscrew it around. Then I'm holding this and I'm holding this. How embarrassing, my dogs. But I was in the middle of showing this, so I didn't want to stop. And I stopped and reprimanded. So now see how we have this little wiggle? We can straighten that out, and we can put our little thumb right here and straighten out our piece by holding it and bending this. And then we have this lovely little piece. Shorter one, taller one. Okay. So these are our chains, and these are the two styles of chains you'll have, and they'll be both about 1.5 inches long. So what you want to do is cut these in half. So just count out how many you have. If you have an odd number, then you're just going to be then just have one side with an extra link on it, and we'll resolve that later. But you're just going to be cutting these in half. So I'm counting my links. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm cutting at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm cutting that. And these chains are closed links. That's why they have to be cut. So I'm going to save those little leaves. One side, if they were an even amount of links, one side will have 6, and one side will have 7 because I broke one. I mean, I did it on purpose. I cut it. So that's why you have these guys. And we wire wrap separately because it's easier to do these long wire wraps separately than when they're on the links. So I'm counting out my links here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, there was 8 on this, so I'm going to cut that one off. So it's 7. So I've got 7 on there, and I'm going to start at the bottom. And this is where these little guys come in. Okay, we got our little jump rings. I'm going to reverse my jump rings, and I'm going to use the chain nose to cover the majority of the jump ring, and then I'm going to open it this way, okay? And I'm going to put a leaf on, replacing, because we're just recreating the links. I'm going to put my little bittersweet on, and then another leaf, and I'm going to go to the bottom link, and I'm going to add this. Now this chain there, all these chains are kind of oval links, but don't worry about that. Then I'm going to close that up, and there we have our first one on. And If you don't want your dangle, if you want to adjust your dangle, do so. If you don't want it to hang really long, make this less. I'm going to be doing it with these 7 links. All right, then I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm going to open my jump ring. I'm putting a leaf. So let's see, what do I have? I'm going to cut this one, the top one, and replace it. So I keep my 7, cut it, put my jump ring on, put a leaf, put a bittersweet, and put a leaf. There, I've replaced it. So I have my 7, and that, I think, is at 8 when we put a jump ring on it. Let's count what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8. That's great. Okay. Then I can decide. I laid this down like this. I can decide, do I want this one in the center? Do I want it up here? Do I want to stagger it? What do I want to do? Well, I'm going to just look at it and pick a spot, and I think I'm picking this one right here. And I'm going to cut that. And my 2 pieces. Grab my jump ring, open it up, add it to one section, my dogs are old, as you know, and they get real ornery. Grumpy old dogs. And one tends to pick on the oldest one now more and go for his food. And I'm always discovering new things about grumpiness. That was the first time I heard a fight about food. So anyhow, we've got those on. I added my leaves and my bittersweet, and I'm closing that up. And we've got our first dangle, okay? And now we have an opening jump ring up here at the top and one at the bottom. So I can open that back up, can look at my dangle. I like that. And if you feel that this is too long for your ears, you adjust your leaves. Don't do 7 links, do 5, do 4, do only 2 bittersweet, do only 1 bittersweet. We're going to place this on our eye hook and close that off. And now I want you to do the exact same thing for your other earring. Okay, the same way. So I've done both of mine, and one I did shorter and one I did longer. So you can see the difference. So you get to make your dangle as long as you want. Some of us have long necks and like longer dangles, and some of us have short necks. So if you like really short earrings, just use one of your bittersweets. So this gives you those options. Next, we're ready to assemble our flowers. And I've got my 2 bronze teacup beads, and I've got my seed beads. And now I will decide what size I want to use. This is how the larger one looks, and you can see with the larger, we have less bronze showing. And this is with the smaller. And I prefer the smaller, but that's up to you. So that's why I put those in the kit. Now next, since I'm gonna go with the smaller, I'm going to take my fire line and I'm going to cut it in half. If you get strong, good titanium scissors that are not worn out, I can go to the dollar store and get them, and while they're new, they'll cut the fire line. If not, I have my fire line cutters. These are really fishing line cutters because that's what fire line is. So we're going to put, I'm not using a beading needle, and I just lost my, no, there it is. We're going to string on the tiny seed bead and fold it over into the saddle. Fold these over in half. This isn't having to be really strong construction. So we're only going to string once. We're going to take our tails and run them through our bead. Whoops. Forgot to put the little bronze teacup bead on. So we've got our tails doubled over. And we're going to string those through. There. Got that on there in the center. And I've got my two tiny beads. One's a little more open than the other. That's okay. That's how flowers are. Put that on there. Now, this is what we're doing that's unique on this. We don't want to use a stopper bead behind here. We want this to sit as flush on the bezel as possible. So I'm putting this on the center, and I'm putting a tail over here. I've got 6 petals on this. Trying to show you. I'm going to have a tail coming one side, 3 petals here, 3 petals here, and my 2 tails. And I'm going to tie that flower on. Okay, there I am. Tie that flower on. Keeping it around my 2 petals, evenly between my, in the center. 3 petals on each side. Pulling tight, putting the knot on again, putting a knot on again, and another knot. All right, we're going to do that for both of them. And that's how we're attaching this here. Okay, I'm going to cut my fishing line, my fire line, and I've got that on there. It's nice and secure. And I'm going to set it aside right now. Make that stand proud. That's really tight on there. There. Okay. Now, next, we're going to take our ribbon. Okay. I'm going to fold it out here and cut it in half. Now, got some water right here because it makes it easier if I get this a little wet. All right. Twirl these together, and I am choosing to tie it at the neck of the eye hook. Okay, so I'm just coming in here, all three of them gathered together. So I got them wet, and there's another reason to get them wet. Got them wet, taking all three and tying them together. Pulling all my ribbons tight. Okay, then you can pull these down because they're wet and let them dry. They'll dry pretty quickly. And you can cut them all the same or cut them all differently, the length you want. And then let them dry in the downward position. I'm going to cut this one a little shorter. I don't want them all to be the same. And let that dry. Now, we're going to take our E6000 glue. I've got my big clunk, but you'll have this one here. And get a fresh start on my E6000. Pull some out, put it right there. And get it off the edges. Probably is better to put my E6000 on my back of my flower. And then you're going to just put that in place and let that dry. And there you are.